Hi, today I want to talk to you about how someone can become bewitched and end up with a narcissist without even realizing it. When we hear the word witchcraft, we often imagine dark rituals, spells, or something supernatural. But sometimes witchcraft doesn't look dark at all. Sometimes it appears in human relationships disguised as love, charm, affection, and even destiny. In that sense, a narcissist can be incredibly skilled at witchcraft. The process of narcissistic witchcraft has four stages. So let's dive into them. First stage, enchantment. Enchantment begins with a spell of love bombing. At the beginning, the narcissist arrives with charm. They pull you in with intense attention, admiration, and affection. They make you feel special, chosen, seen. You feel that love, joy, fulfillment, almost a deep sense of certainty. Everything feels magical, and you truly believe you have finally found the one. During this phase, the narcissist showers you with gifts, flowers, and with help if necessary, and undivided attention. They place you above everyone else, family, friends, even responsibilities. So you feel enchanted. And in that emotional high, we begin to open ourselves. We share our vulnerabilities, our wounds, our weaknesses. Our emotions run so deep that our vision slowly begins to fade. We become blind. Blind to the warnings, blind to the red flags, blind to what God was quietly trying to show us. And please hear this clearly. This did not happen because we were weak. It happened because we are human beings who are deeply empathetic, capable of love, connection, and emotional depth. Truly speaking, those deep emotions that we felt were real, and we felt them with all our heart. A narcissist, on the other hand, relates very differently. They feed on other people's emotions, they study their vulnerabilities, and use them with calculated behaviors. While you are trying to build a connection based on love and trust, they are building a connection based on control and deception. As you're opening your heart, they are learning which strings to pull. And slowly, without even realizing it, we begin to move in ways that serve their needs, not our own. This is how enchantment works. Stage 2, emotional blinding. What do I mean by emotional blinding? It's the moment when our eyes no longer can see clearly, when a blindfold or scales seems to settle over our vision, where the vision begins to fade. We slowly become blinded by their charm, by their achievements, by the carefully crafted image they present to the world. And little by little, we begin to lose awareness of ourselves. Because of this, we fail to recognize the red flags when they appear. Let's pause for a moment. Honestly, if we look back, there were moments that unsettled us, moments that shook us, moments that quietly distressed us. And today we wonder how we ever walked past those signs. There were times when you were questioned, demanded, or controlled, times when your heart was broken. Sometimes they explained their behaviors, sometimes they didn't explain at all. They simply moved on as if nothing had happened. Although we felt that sting inside, we always justified their actions in our mind and we moved on. And this is where empaths struggle the most. Empaths have a deep tendency to think for others. They step into their shoes and begin to create stories in their minds to justify their actions. They tell to themselves, maybe they had a bad day, or they completely dismiss the unfortunate incidents, saying, this is just a misunderstanding, it will pass. Or they think silly. They would say, if I had a If I had a bad day, I might have reacted in the same way. Sometimes they even tell themselves, they love me so much, this is just worry, this is how they show care. And they give reasons and justifications for the narcissist's unempathetical and cold behaviors. And in doing so, they slowly silence their own truth. And because this person had once loved you intensely, at least you thought so. So in your mind, you keep returning to that version of them, not the one standing in front of you. Then comes the first real attack, often subtle, often disguised. The breaking of the victim's will through intimidation, emotional pressure, or quiet manipulation. Let me share an example, because this is how these patterns often hide in plain sight. I once heard a man speak with admiration about his auntie. He praised her for enduring his uncle. He described how his uncle would snap at her, speak harshly, and sometimes even spank her to inflict pain. Something about that story unsettled me. When this man asked his auntie why she tolerated such behavior, her answer was familiar. She said, men deal with so much pressure at work. If they can't release their frustration at home, where else can they? This is how the blindness takes root. Abuse is renamed as stress, control is reframed as care, and cruelty is softened into just how he is or she is. This man shared that story repeatedly with his wife, holding his auntie up as an example, placing her on a pedestal. But what became clear to me is this: he created an unspoken standard she was expected to meet. No one enters a relationship dreaming of abuse. No one imagines becoming the dumping container for someone else's anger and frustrations. Yet, through subtle conditioning, through comparison, guilt, and expectation, she was guided into a role he had already normalized in his mind. And eventually, he began treating his wife the same way. When I later asked her, his wife, about his behavior, she gently justified it. She said the same thing, almost along the same lines. Men deal with so much pressure at work, so if they can't release their frustration at home, where else can they go? Do you see the pattern now? I don't know whether his wife was always this empathetic or whether hearing this story again and again slowly shaped her perception. With repetition, something dangerous happens. The abnormal begins to feel normal. As you can see, by this stage, the manipulation is no longer visible. Not because it isn't there, but because the eyes have become blind to the programming. The man was using her as an outlet for his unresolved anger and frustrations. And she, being deeply empathetic, took on the responsibility of managing his emotions. The third stage is confusion. By the time one reaches this stage, the person's sight is already dimmed by the blindfold. As you can see, this blindfold is not totally opaque. See, our spirit can still sense what is happening around us. We can catch glimpses of the truth, yet we cannot see it fully. We perceive that something is wrong, and at the same time, we feel as if everything is okay. It is a strange, disorienting place to be, where clarity diminishes, confusion sets in, and the mind struggles to reconcile what the heart already knows. Imagine that blindfold over your eyes. Look out. How do you see the world? Not clearly, right? You see something, but it is distorted, incomplete, confusing. This is exactly how it feels in a relationship with a narcissist. Confused. Narcissists thrive in confusion. They gaslight, they blame shift, they project their chaos onto everyone around them. The other day I was scrolling through YouTube when I heard someone quote this verse from the Bible. We played wedding songs and you didn't dance. So we played funeral songs and you didn't mourn. This verse perfectly captures the mind of a narcissist. In their world, both songs are always ready to be played, depending entirely on their mood. They switch their moods on and off again. One moment they want celebration and joy. They want everyone around them to share their happiness, to feel that everything is perfect, that life is good and bright. But the very next moment, everything can shift. Suddenly, they create drama, conflicts, misunderstandings, or tension that seems to appear out of nowhere. The joy vanishes, replaced by frustration, anger, or attention seeking behaviors. And in that shift, they expect everyone around them to follow along, to feel the sorrow, the tension, the turmoil on their own schedule, according to their mood. It's exhausting, confusing, and disorienting because the rules are always changing, and the expectation is that you adjust to their emotional rhythm rather than living in your own reality. And if you don't keep up, if you hesitate or resist, they will blame you for being insensitive, or worse, take revenge in subtle or overt ways. This is truly exhausting because a narcissist cannot tolerate the idea that you have an independent mind, feelings, or perspective. They, do not, they do not want you to think for yourself. They want you to adopt their thoughts, accept their assumptions, and live inside their version of reality. To them, this is normal. For us, for you, it feels disorienting, draining, and sometimes impossible to trust our own mind. Stage 4, misfortune. This is the final stage where many victims find themselves asking, what happened to my life? By now, you may begin to notice the things you have lost: your voice, your finances, your sense of independence, your career, ideas, goals, your health, your energy, your vitality, your God given talents, the gifts you once celebrated. Nothing seems to flourish the way it should. The narcissists resist the very things that bring you joy or growth. If they sense that your success, happiness, or independence does not benefit them, they will block it. They discourage you, constantly telling you that you will fail. They manipulate situations, circumstances to keep you small, to keep you dependent, to keep you trapped. A narcissist wants you to be what they want, not what you are meant to be. We are all humans. A little encouragement from the people we love can give our dreams wings. A kind word, a moment of support, a simple recognition. These things fuel passion and confidence. But a narcissist does the opposite. Instead of lifting you, they tear at your confidence, throw obstacles in your path, and sap your focus. Little by little, your energy and joy are chipped away. Some victims remain blind to this manipulation for years because the narcissist has systematically taken pieces of their identity. So they settle for less than they deserve. They lose their passions, their goals, and their dreams. Each repeated cycle of abuse drains them more, leaving them afraid to move forward, afraid to claim their momentum. This is one of the most painful and heartbreaking experiences anyone can endure. That is to realize your life, your energy, your dreams have been quietly undermined by someone you trusted. But the misfortune continues only until one day, until one finds the clarity, and importantly, when one recognizes what has been taken, what has been withheld, and what has been stolen from them. And in that moment, when the truth becomes crystal clear, they find the courage to say, enough is enough. This is when the healing begins. Step by step, you begin to break the chains the narcissist has wrapped around you. You reclaim the parts of yourself that were lost. You relearn your worth, your passions, and your independence. It is crucial to understand this truth. A narcissist will never truly change. No amount of love, hope, or prayer can change them. Because for real change to happen, a person must first acknowledge their flaws and be willing to turn away from them. A narcissist does neither. In their own mind, they are always right, always justified, always the victim. What they can do is temporarily soften their behavior, but their patterns always return. Your love, patience, and kindness will not change them. They will only use it to feed their own needs. So, the healthiest choice is to distance yourself. Give yourself permission to heal, to breathe, and to grow. Until my next video, bye and take care.